So I haven't exactly made it any secret on this channel, the level of disdain that I have about a lack of good G1-esque Bumblebee figures out there on the chug market, or any good Bumblebees without a BS caveat tacked on the end for that matter. Origins B, a Target exclusive, a clear plastic backpack that spontaneously breaks on me. I've had 3 copies of this son of a bitch, and I just gave up on replacing them because fuck that. Studio Series 49's my controversial garbage fire figure that I use as an example of why I hate the majority of Bayver's Studio Series figures. And Netflix Bumblebee that's impossible to find on the aftermarket for anything less than Which is why the unceremonious release of Studio Series 86 Bumblebee was both one of the biggest eye-rolling and one of the most batshit slept-on moments of this entire collecting hobby. Like, it just seems so foreign and bizarre to me that we finally have a G1-esque penny racer card-looking Bumblebee that's faithful to the original source material at a chug scale. Bumblebee's alt mode's a cute yellow bug with a chibi filter applied to it that I am absolutely in love with. This guy's an equal scale to me holding a penny racer when I was 7, and I love it for that reason, which is why it's unfortunate that it only includes this tiny-ass pea shooter that barely qualifies as a weapon and or accessory. Ah yes, the deluxe figure or small argument again. How original and classy does that make me as a reviewer? Yeah, this is definitely the smallest figure released in Chug as a whole, and includes the least number of accessories, but between the pinned-in wheels, drop-dead tune accuracy, mixed in with shades of toy accuracy that give us the better of both worlds, I can't honestly stay that mad at it. It's missing the spare tire sculpted into the back, and it isn't as round as you might expect it to be, but the chibi look of the vehicle mode is giving off real penny racer vibes in a way that feels incredibly G1 without all the cringe on Twitter about it. The one real problem I have with the vehicle mode is all of the fucking paint chipping! Jesus H. Christ! The plastic on this figure like rejects paint being on it or something. I noticed chips on the front bumper within 5 transformations. I've repainted it black 4 times and it won't stay on! The Autobot logo on the chest is fading off, yet the yellow areas of the windshield are chipping. Fuck! They finally had the testicular fortitude to get rid of clear plastic, paint the windows, and apply a paint cleaner, and then they dropped the ball at the 1-yard line! I can forgive a deluxe class figure for being small, but given the fact this thing barely includes anything, the paint should not be this fucking fragile! It feels inexcusably lazy to charge $28 for a 4-inch tall figure with mildly advanced engineering, but then the paint falls off like a motherfucker! And the worst part is, this is not the only culprit out of Studio Series 86. 86 Blaster's handles have barely been touched by me, but it looks like someone threw it in a goddamn blender full of sandpaper and pissed off kittens. The only thing I'm doing is transforming these things, man. How do they wind up looking like shit so fast? So it's not like the engineering's gonna salvage this entire operation or anything, right? I should've just skipped this one, or maybe purchased it for its retail value instead of paying for early access, am I right? Woo! Yeah, baby! Holy shit, he doesn't parts form! I'm gonna sit here and tell you a little story about the Cliff Jumper mold. This thing felt like the physical limit to me in terms of chug. Like, you physically could not get the backpack to stay on for the entire transformation while achieving a good tune-accurate penny racer look or making the transformation into a masochistic nightmare. You wanna know the solution? A fucking accordion hinge. That's it?! That's like 3 modifications that was needed to make the mold perfect! Like, the rest of the transformation is every ounce as smooth as something this size can be. The torso kinda scares me with how loose it's gotten, and the stress on the backward hinge on the legs seems like it's a little too tight for my personal taste. But the results speak for themselves with one of the most aesthetically pleasing Bumblebees that we've ever gotten. Sure, the face might be a little puffy, but that's accurate to the cartoon, so I don't really care that much. The chest is a little chubbier than I prefer, but proportionally speaking, the fact that his robot mode fit inside of this vehicle mode is a testament to the laws of physics being pushed to its limit by people who do not get paid enough to do this shit. The arms, legs, and feet feel way more robust than they should, in spite of looking deceptively thin in appearance. The plastic joint balance on every single joint on this thing is fine-tuned to perfection, and the back kibble management is absolute S tier, sitting against the back in a way that's about 40% more flush than the cliff jumper mold, where you had to rip the car in half to transform the damn thing. There is so much about this figure that makes the symmetry of it feel incredibly satisfying. Like the way the wheel wells turn backwards and inside out to form the inside of the torso while having no hollow space in between is fucking genius. The way the head's connected on two separate double hinges that somehow stuff the head into the chest and make up the entire spinal column is friggin' wild, man. They used every ounce of this plastic on this thing to absolute peak perfection. There is nothing in this figure that's left even the slightest amount open to chance, aside from like the inside of the bottom of the vehicle mode to allow the feet to be hollow enough to transform, I guess? Who gives a shit? Because in the grand scheme of things, for a figure with this small and chubby of the stature, this guy can fucking rock a pose with absolutely perfectly balanced articulation joints. Unfortunately, they've been mixed in with some very loose or extremely tight transformation joints that make it feel a little bit scary to handle during the transformation. The torso's super loose to the point where it dangles by a thread unless I prop it up during the animation. Tight backwards joints in the legs and loose rotation of the wheel wells feel kind of cheap in their overall construction, and that gives me non-flashbacks of what happens if this thing breaks and I have to go the Netflix route. All in all, in spite of all of his cosmetic flaws and joint tolerance imperfections, you'd think I'd unapologetically recommend the thing in the grand scheme of things, right? Well, I mean, somewhat. In spite of how fantastic this guy is, he is very small for the price you're paying, and the weapons feel pathetically scarce for something that comes out to $28 after tax, assuming you will ever find them at retail. And it feels like the longevity of the paint on this thing is cringeworthy shit bad. Does that make him bad in the grand scheme of things? No. Should you wait to see if he goes on sale? Oh, well, ask Netflix Bumblebee that fucking question. But the fear of missing out doesn't offset the deficits in durability and semi-cheap hand feel that an 86 figure this size shouldn't feel when yet the plastic budget on the figure is so small. He might push the price limits on what's acceptable for a deluxe, but objectively he's worth giving a shot in the grand scheme of things. Just keep gray paint on you at all times. Fuck you, Hasbro, for cheaping out on your goddamn paint. And so the stop-motion reviewer met his quota on the perfectly satisfactory Bumblebee for now, I guess.
12 seconds later.
Holy shit! There's a movie verse Bumblebee that doesn't suck!